It's now my pleasure to turn the event over to Jamie Petten, who will moderate our panel discussion and introduce you to our 3 5-star panel members. Jamie.
I realize that I am, and our panelists are standing between you and the bar, so we're going to try to keep this succinct and really drive home the key message of why we're here as a technology community. It can't be understated just how important this topic is to our ability to attract and retain the existing talent that we have here in Canada's largest technology park. I'll speak to a few points around the need and the desire for net new talent, but as was mentioned earlier, we have 540 global and local technology companies here in the park. They employ close to 33,000 individuals here in our community, and 50% of them live in the Canada North area. We have 3 panelists joining us this evening to bring a unique perspective to this topic of talent. As many of you know, and as Terry will often say, we're in a war for talent these days. The stakes could not be higher, and the market only continues to be increasingly competitive. We have over 1,200 vacancies in Canada North today for open roles needing to be filled in the technology park. We have a solid, compelling message that will persuade world-class talent to live, work, play, and learn here. Our beautiful natural environment and the overall experience of living here in the surrounding area of Canada's largest technology park plays a big role in this, the intangible. Family-oriented neighborhoods, green space, golf courses, and an overall attractive lifestyle to build a career around. And I think that's something for us to consider through this conversation today. We all want to do our life's work, and we're all looking for really impactful solutions and big market opportunities, but at the end of the day, we're building a life around our careers, and we're building families and networks and communities of people. And to make it a super compelling pitch for our companies, we need to be able to convey that message. So please join me in welcoming our 3 panelists this evening. Stephen Willis, Stephen, if you can join us up here on stage, is the General Manager of Planning, Infrastructure, and Economic Development with the City of Ottawa. And Stephen has been an incredible champion of the Canada North Technology Park over the last several years, so I'm looking forward to chatting with you. I'd also like to welcome Sarah Doughty, the VP of Talent Operations for Talentlab. And finally, Mark Tremblay, our professor in the Department of Pediatrics for the University of Ottawa. So I think we'll start our conversation this evening with you, Stephen, if you wouldn't mind. Can you give us some insight into the city's perspective of the Canada North Technology Park as a key economic engine and driver for this region?
So thanks very much, Jamie. I've really had a pleasure of working with the Canada North Business Association since I started this job about 5 years ago and understanding the role of Canada North in our economy. And if you know, sit and listen to the history that Terry told us about, but you link it back to the earliest days of Canada and Bill Tarrant's work and what the vision was and really what this space became. And the early city builders, and I know Marion's in the room and I want to acknowledge her as one of the original city builders, really building a city in this area. You know, other cities in North America crave what we already have. And one of the most incredible things about it is it has all the potential to do so much more than it is doing today. And so when we were looking at the form of the city and the new official plan, we had a lot of interesting discussions about how could it evolve and who are we competing against? And we're really not competing against business parks in other parts of Ottawa. We're not competing against Orleans. We're not competing against Barrhaven. Mm-hmm. We are competing against Cambridge, Massachusetts. We're competing against many cities in California. We're competing against the belt in and around Washington, D.C. And if we really, really want to compete at that level, and our aspiration is to be one of the best mid-sized cities in North America, we actually have to say, how does this area evolve to meet the needs of the changing businesses and the employees, and they actually have the space attract talent without giving up what matters in the process. So we have been talking with the Canada North Business Association, and now we're starting to talk with the community. We're only in the early days about that, is how does it evolve? And so we've brought in experts from those other cities and say, how did their business parks that were started in the 60s and 70s and 80s, how have they evolved? And, you know, the sorts of things we're talking about when we're talking about evolving is maybe these parking lots fill up with new businesses and new opportunities, right? And it becomes more walkable, more better transit service. But we're not talking about ripping up forests and green space.
That's right.
You know, that is not the plan. I mean, what's the big draw for Ottawa? I mean, I like many people, and I may have done this with the audience in the first year here, you know, I often ask the question, maybe we can raise our hands. I mean, how many of you had an opportunity to take a job in another city, but didn't leave Ottawa or came back to Ottawa because of the quality of life we have in this city? Like, I mean, I don't know all of you. I mean, I went away for 20 years and I came home because of quality of life. And you know, and I think that's true. That's a true story of a lot of people. Why do they come back? And what have we got to offer to draw people back? So we can change, we can evolve, we can adapt, which is what the plan's all about. And this is designated as a special economic zone because of its energy and power that already exists. Mm-hmm. But change does not need to mean ripping up those parts that make it attractive too, because otherwise we turn into, another suburb of another American city.
Mm-hmm. Talk to us about Greenspace and what a fundamental priority it is within this next official plan.
Sure. I mean, you know, we have almost an impossible job, which is how do we house 400,000 more people in the next 25 years? And by the way, the province is now telling us we underestimated on 400,000. It may even be more, because Canada is a very attractive country. And if you look at the chaos in the world right now, you can understand why people want to live in Canada. You know, and people from all kinds of backgrounds. This is a very good country to live in, and I'm proud to be part of it. So how do we house 400,000 more people, but not sprawl endlessly, just keep on going on farmland until we're done? How do we find a way to fit in? And then also in the process, how do we have different varieties of housing types so that more people can afford to have either rent or own a house of different formats, and how do we live a lower carbon lifestyle in the process? So all of that is almost an impossible mix to throw into the soup. But, you know, the green space part of it is green space does contribute to human health. Mm-hmm. There are experts here. I'm not going to talk your space. You know this. I've read work you've done. But I mean, green space contributes to health. It contributes to the economy because it draws talent where it's attractive. It is where people feel healthy when they want to raise their family in a healthy situation, or even if you're not a family, you're an outdoorsy person and want access to that. It's like this all contributes. There is a tie. There's an economic tie of all of this. Mm-hmm. And the economic, if you go travel to countries, go to Mexico and look at how they've just ripped apart everything. And they've lost anything that resembled green spaces in a lot of those countries. And you look at, you know, their struggle to be an attractive North American city. Like, you know, listen, not every decision the city ever makes is popular, and not everything, you know, prioritizes what people want. But our real goal here is to try to find that equilibrium in everything here. And the equilibrium does demand this part of the strategy, and that's why we tried to prioritize it.
Excellent. It takes a collaborative effort. So I want to commend you and your team within the City of Ottawa's long-term planning department, as well as the representatives that we have in this room, Councillor Curry and our former Councillor Marianne Wilkinson, that advocacy on behalf of our members and that constant engagement to understand what are the needs of their talent today in order to continue to keep us in this concentrated, highly productive environment is phenomenal. So thank you. So we'll move to Sarah. Sarah, we're in a hyper-competitive job market. How does Canada North Technology Park, how does Ottawa stand out above the noise?
Yeah, you know, I mean, we are in an unprecedented level of competition for high-tech talent today. I myself have been here for 10 years, and so I do have some level of experience in seeing the growth even pre-pandemic, but it's nothing like it is today. And that's why we do need to, as a community, focus on our competitive edge. You know, what is going to differentiate us from some of even our larger local markets like Toronto and Montreal. And one thing when you're talking to the candidates, the talent pool that is global now that we're drawing from, it is quality of life. It's wellness, it's holistic living. I think we're past the point where I think employees are interested in fitting their lives into a certain work style. And we're seeing a reversal. They're expecting their work life to fit into their personal lives. And that change is really driving talent acquisition today. And leaders who are not realizing that the perspective needs to change and that we need to see an evolution in how we view the relationships that our employees have to work are going to be left behind. And I think Greenspace really plays into that. Again, you know, I'm sure you'll speak to great detail about the health benefits, but I mean, we know that this is something on leadership's minds. I believe last year, 94% of CEOs polled said that wellness was their biggest concern for their employee bases. The cost to the bottom line of burnout and overcommitment of employees is right now in our community costing our businesses money. So we need to start prioritizing our employee workforce's wellness as a top priority in order to continue to be competitive on the global stage.
It's so interesting because we are in this time where we're all evaluating what's important to us. We've gone through this collective crazy over the last 2 years of just being isolated and not as connected as we could be interpersonally. And so thinking about how that affects our retention strategies and how we're supporting our existing employee base here in the park is one element of it. But the challenges of recruiting as well can't be understated. So we're in this global labor shortage. What are those key messages that you're getting out there on behalf of our companies here in Ottawa?
I mean, absolutely working with leadership in terms of consulting and coaching to change interview practices, to change the way we approach talent to be more human-centric. I think over the last 5 to 7 years, we've seen a rise of data-driven recruitment, and I think at that point it did make sense that push for efficiency. But what we are hearing from the talent pools today is they want a human-centric approach to hiring. They want leadership that takes the time to explain how they're going to impact not just the communities in terms of sustainability, which is increasingly becoming table stakes, particularly with Gen Z, but I think they want to understand the impact that they're going to have within the company as well. We're seeing people willing to, I think, make moves and take risks. Stability is not as important to our talent pool as it was. They're looking for that sense of higher purpose. They want to work for companies that are doing good for the community. So I think that's a big thing that we're working with leadership for companies who have been around for a while. And I think keeping up the momentum in Canada is going to be very important. I think Mr. Matthews definitely discussed some of what we've been able to do here and how phenomenal it's been. And I think if we don't continue to evolve and adapt, we will stagnate and we will lose the momentum that's been built over the last 50 years. And it's going to be more vital than ever that we keep that momentum up.
Excellent. Thanks, Sarah.